Welcome to our deep dive. We're going to be exploring the world of 2125.
That's right, 2125.
And we're focusing on a pretty fascinating philosophy that shapes this future world, monism.
The idea that everything is connected.
Yeah, that everything, absolutely everything is interconnected and comes from a single source.
Mm-hmm.
Our source material is a TED Talk by Dr. Anya Sharma, who paints a picture of how this idea of monism has completely revolutionized that world.
It's a pretty amazing talk.
Yeah, and it's going to be a pretty mind-bending journey for us as we unpack it. So,
Buckle up.
yeah, definitely buckle up.
Yeah.
I think to start, imagine a world built on that idea that everything is interconnected.
Okay.
What do you think are some of the biggest differences between that world and ours today?
Well, Dr. Sharma highlights one area in particular, and that's AI.
Oh, yeah.
Artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence, of course.
In 2125.
And I think most people, when they think about the future, they think about AI.
Absolutely.
And she describes AI in 2125 as being unbelievably advanced.
Not just tools like we have today, but actual integrated systems
Right.
that learn and reason and even create art.
Yeah, way beyond what we can even imagine today.
Right.
It makes you wonder, how did AI become so advanced in this monistic future?
Yeah, that's a great question. And Dr. Sharma points to a shift from the fragmented AI that we have today to something called unified AI systems.
Unified AI systems.
These systems, unlike the AIs that we have today, which are designed for very specific tasks,
Right.
they learn one single unified representation of the world, just like we humans do,
Okay.
but across all sorts of inputs.
So they're not just limited to one type of data.
Exactly. They can take in everything from vision and sound to language and abstract concepts.
Oh, wow, that's pretty incredible.
Dr. Sharma calls this representation an integrated world model.
Integrated world model, what exactly does that mean?
Well, think of it as AI building a deep understanding, not just about isolated objects, but about how everything relates to each other.
Okay.
The actions things can take, even abstract ideas.
So it's they see the bigger picture.
Exactly.
I remember she gives this really interesting example in the talk. Imagine an AI that not only designs a bridge,
Right.
but it also understands why that bridge matters in the bigger picture.
Exactly. How it impacts the community, the environment, even the economy.
Wow. So they're not just solving problems, they're understanding the entire context.
That's what these integrated world models allow AI to do in 2125.
It makes you wonder how this understanding of interconnectedness affects their ethics, particularly when it comes to AI.
Yeah, that's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Dr. Sharma talks about artificial moral agents.
Artificial moral agents.
These are essentially AIs whose entire sense of right and wrong is built on this monistic foundation.
So instead of being programmed with a set of rules,
Right.
they actually understand the interconnectedness of everything and how their actions can ripple outward, affecting the well-being of the whole.
Exactly.
Mm.
Pretty amazing, right?
One of the things I found most compelling is how Dr. Sharma believes this could help us address the problem of algorithmic bias,
Oh, absolutely.
which is something that we grapple with a lot today.
Yeah, it's a huge issue.
And instead of trying to define fairness in some absolute way, monistic AI recognizes that all perspectives are equally valid within this unified reality.
It's a much more nuanced and holistic approach.
Yeah, it really is, and it's a pretty powerful point.
It is.
It seems like this monistic approach to AI could potentially solve some of the biggest ethical challenges we face today, but it would require a fundamental shift in how we design and develop AI.
Well, absolutely. Dr. Sharma talks about a complete paradigm shift, moving away from seeing AI as just a tool to solve specific problems and towards seeing it as a partner in navigating the complexities of this interconnected world.
It really makes you think that if everything is truly interconnected, as monism suggests, the lines between human intelligence and artificial intelligence might start to blur.
It's a profound thought, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
And it leads us to another area where monism has had a significant impact, our understanding of our own minds and consciousness.
Right, our own consciousness.
Yeah.
So we've seen how this idea of a unified reality has led to these incredible advancements in AI, even shaping its ethical development. But what about the impact of monism on our understanding of consciousness? If everything is truly interconnected, what does that mean for the human mind?
What seems that in a monistic world, the idea of a separate mind and body starts to break down.
Okay.
Dr. Sharma really dives into this in her talk,
Yeah.
suggesting that they're not separate entities at all, but two aspects of the same fundamental reality.
So if there's no real separation between mind and body, how does that change our view of consciousness?
Well, one concept Dr. Sharma highlights is the free energy principle,
Free energy principle.
which suggests that our brains are constantly trying to minimize prediction errors.
Prediction error.
Yeah, to make sense of the world. It's like our brains are building models of reality and then updating them based on new information.
So we're not just passively observing reality, but we're actively creating our own internal model of it.
That's one way to interpret it, yeah.
Wow.
And this process of prediction, error correction, and model updating is actually what gives rise to our subjective experience, our consciousness, according to the free energy principle.
So our consciousness emerges from the constant interplay between our internal model and the external world.
That's the idea.
And what's really fascinating is this idea of the brain building a model of reality connects back to those integrated world models that we were talking about with AI.
Right. It's a pretty cool connection.
So you're suggesting there's a parallel between how our brains work and how these advanced AIs in 2125 function.
Exactly. Both are trying to create a coherent and unified representation of reality, even if they're doing it in different ways.
It makes you wonder, could AI actually become conscious?
That's a question that monism doesn't give us an easy answer to, but it definitely pushes us to rethink those boundaries between human and artificial intelligence.
Yeah, and Dr. Sharma touches on another theory in her talk called integrated information theory.
Right. Integrated information theory.
Which suggests that consciousness arises in systems with a high degree of interconnectedness and information flow.
So the more interconnected a system is, the more conscious it is.
That's the basic idea, and it aligns really well with monism's emphasis on the interconnected nature of reality.
Absolutely.
It makes me think, about all the complex systems in the universe, from ecosystems to galaxies.
Mm-hmm.
Could there be other forms of consciousness out there that we haven't even imagined?
Dr. Sharma believes that monism certainly doesn't rule out that possibility.
Wow.
It really expands our understanding of what consciousness could be and where it might exist.
This is all pretty mind-blowing stuff.
It is, isn't it?
But let's maybe shift gears a little bit.
Sure.
How has this monistic understanding of consciousness changed how people live their lives in 2125?
That's a great question.
Because Dr. Sharma paints a picture of some pretty significant societal shifts.
It does.
One of the biggest changes she describes is a profound shift in ethics and values.
Mm-hmm.
If everything is truly interconnected, then harming another person
Or even another being
or another being
ultimately harms yourself.
It's like that saying, hurt no one because you are everyone.
Exactly.
And this extends beyond just humans. Right?
Absolutely. There's a deep respect for all forms of life in 2125.
Okay.
Recognizing that we're all part of this interconnected web.
And Dr. Sharma uses the term ecocentrism to describe the prevailing worldview in 2125.
Right, ecocentrism.
It goes beyond just environmental protection. It's
Mhm.
about designing technology and society in a way that's truly in harmony with nature.
In harmony with nature, yeah.
So it seems like this monistic view has taken sustainability to a whole new level.
Absolutely.
What are some concrete examples of how technology is being used differently in this ecocentric society?
Well, Dr. Sharma talks about energy systems that mimic natural processes, like harnessing energy from the movement of ocean waves.
Oh, wow.
Cities are designed with green spaces integrated throughout, blurring the lines between the built environment and the natural world.
It's really amazing to think about.
She even mentions buildings that act as giant air purifiers, cleaning the air around them as they stand.
It's almost like the technology itself is becoming more conscious of its impact on the environment.
That's a great way to put it.
And this interconnected way of thinking has also led to a resurgence of interest in personal growth and spiritual development.
Oh, absolutely.
It seems like people are seeking a deeper understanding of their place in the grand scheme of things.
That's right. There's a recognition that true happiness comes from understanding our interconnectedness with all things, not from material possessions or external achievements.
It's a really beautiful vision of the future,
It is.
but it also raises some important questions about how we get there. And that's something we'll be exploring in more depth in the next part of our deep dive.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's incredible to think how this concept of monism, of everything being interconnected, has led to such profound changes in how people relate to technology, the environment, and even their own consciousness in 2125.
Yeah. It's pretty remarkable.
But what about society itself? How has this monistic worldview reshaped the very fabric of how people live together?
That's a great question, and that's what we'll be exploring in this part of our deep dive.
Okay, so let's dive in.
Let's do it.
One of the most striking changes Dr. Sharma describes is a shift away from the traditional nation-state system.
Wait, no more countries.
Yeah, that's a pretty radical change.
It is.
What has taken their place?
Well, it seems that in 2125, the world has moved towards a global system of governance based on the principles of interconnectedness and shared responsibility.
That sounds like a huge undertaking.
It is.
How does a system like that actually work in practice?
It's definitely complex, but Dr. Sharma suggests that it's incredibly efficient and equitable
Ooh, okay.
because decisions are made with the needs of the entire planet in mind.
So not just the interests of a particular nation.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there's a much greater focus on things like sustainability and social justice.
So it's like a world government,
Yeah,
but one that actually works for everyone,
that seems to be the idea.
and not just a select few.
Right.
This shift in governance has also led to a much more peaceful world.
That makes sense.
No more wars. How is that even possible?
Well, if you truly believe that everyone and everything is connected, then conflict becomes a lot less appealing.
It's like hurting yourself to hurt someone else.
Exactly. It just doesn't make sense.
And this sense of unity also extends beyond just humans, right?
It's right.
You mean to the environment as well?
Exactly. Dr. Sharma talked about how ecocentrism has become the guiding principle for all aspects of society.
Not just about protecting the environment.
Right. It's about integrating it into every aspect of life.
So it's like nature is no longer something separate from human society, but an integral part of it.
Precisely.
Everything from urban planning to energy production is designed to work in harmony with the natural world.
That's the idea.
It's fascinating to think about how this monistic worldview has touched every aspect of life in 2125.
It really has.
It goes even deeper than that. The entire economic system has also been transformed.
Oh, yeah. The economy is completely different.
There's no more capitalism.
Not exactly.
What's taken its place?
It's more like a hybrid system that combines the best aspects of capitalism with the principles of cooperation and shared abundance.
So it's a system that's both efficient and equitable.
Yeah, that's the goal.
That's a tough balance to strike.
It certainly is, but that seems to be what they've achieved in 2125.
So there's still a focus on innovation and productivity, but the emphasis is on meeting the needs of everyone,
That's right.
not just maximizing profits for a few.
Exactly.
That sounds like a pretty radical departure from our current economic system.
It definitely is.
And it's led to a much higher standard of living for everyone on the planet.
According to Dr. Sharma, yes.
It's amazing to think about how a shift in philosophy could lead to such a dramatic improvement in people's lives.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
It really highlights the power of ideas to shape the world around us.
It does.
But I have to ask, are there any downsides to this seemingly utopian society?
That's a great question, and it's one that Dr. Sharma didn't shy away from in her talk.
What does she say? What are some of the challenges of living in a monistic society?
Well, she acknowledged that there are some challenges to living in a world where everything is so interconnected.
Okay.
One potential issue is the loss of individuality.
So it's like everyone is so focused on the collective that they forget about themselves.
It's a risk, but one that they're aware of and actively working to mitigate in 2125.
How do they do that?
They've developed educational systems and social structures that encourage both individual expression and a sense of belonging to something larger.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between individual freedom and collective responsibility.
That seems to be the key.
It's an ongoing process of negotiation and adaptation.
It is.
It's inspiring to think about a society that's actively striving to create a world that works for everyone.
It is inspiring.
It makes you wonder, is this kind of future really possible, or is it just a pipe dream?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
But even if we never fully achieve this kind of utopia, I think there's a lot we can learn from Dr. Sharma's vision.
Like what? What are some of the key takeaways from this deep dive so far?
Well, for starters, it shows us the transformative power of ideas.
Okay.
Even just changing the way we think about the world can have a huge impact.
And it also reminds us that we're not alone in this journey.
We're all interconnected, even across time and space.
Maybe by embracing this idea of monism, by recognizing our interconnectedness with all things, we can start to create a world that's a little bit closer to the one Dr. Sharma describes.
A world that's more sustainable and more fulfilling for everyone.
It's a future worth striving for. So we've talked about AI, consciousness, and ethics.
Big topics, right?
Yeah, huge. All shaped by this idea of monism. This idea of a unified reality.
That everything is connected
Exactly.
at the deepest level.
And it's led to some pretty mind-blowing changes in 2125.
Yeah, it's amazing to think about.
It is, but we haven't really talked about the actual structure of society yet.
Right. How do people actually live together in this monistic world?
Yeah, like how has this monistic worldview reshaped the very fabric of how people live together? That's what we'll be exploring in this final part of our deep dive.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay, so let's jump right in.
Sure.
One of the biggest changes Dr. Sharma describes is a shift away from that traditional nation-state system.
No more countries. Wow, that's a pretty radical change.
Yeah, I know, right? It really is.
So what's taken their place?
It seems that in 2125, the world has moved towards a global system of governance.
Okay, a global system.
Yeah, and it's based on those principles of interconnectedness and shared responsibility that we've been talking about.
It makes sense, but I mean, that sounds like a huge undertaking.
It is.
How does that even work in practice?
Well, it's a complex system,
Right.
but Dr. Sharma suggests that it's incredibly efficient and equitable.
How so?
Well, because the decisions are made with the needs of the entire planet in mind.
Okay, not just the interests of one particular nation.
Exactly.
Interests.
So there's this much greater focus on sustainability and social justice.
So it's like a world government, but one that actually works for everyone,
Yeah, exactly. That seems to be the idea.
not just a select few.
Right, exactly. And this shift in governance has also led to a much more peaceful world, according to Dr. Sharma.
Really? No more wars.
No more wars. It's pretty remarkable to think about.
How is that even possible?
Well, if you truly believe that everyone and everything is connected,
Right.
conflict just becomes a lot less appealing.
I guess it's like hurting yourself to hurt someone else.
Exactly. It just doesn't make sense.
It makes you wonder if maybe that's the key to lasting peace.
Maybe it is.
Shifting our perspective to see that interconnectedness.
Yeah, and that sense of unity extends beyond just humans, too.
Well, you mean to the environment as well.
That's right. Dr. Sharma talked about how ecocentrism has become this guiding principle for all aspects of society.
Not just about protecting the environment, but really integrating it into every aspect of life.
Precisely. Like, nature is no longer something separate from human society,
Mm.
but an integral part of it.
So how does that actually manifest? What does that look like?
Well, everything from urban planning to energy production is designed to work in harmony with the natural world.
That's pretty incredible.
It is, and it goes even deeper than that.
Oh, really?
The entire economic system has also been transformed.
So no more capitalism.
Not exactly.
Okay, what's taken its place then?
Well, it's more like a hybrid system.
Okay.
It combines those best aspects of capitalism.
Right. With these principles of cooperation and shared abundance.
So it's both efficient and equitable.
That's the goal.
That's a tough balance to strike.
It is, but it seems like that's what they've achieved in 2125.
So there's still innovation and productivity,
Mm-hmm.
but the focus is on meeting everyone's needs,
Exactly.
not just maximizing profit.
Exactly. And it's led to a much higher standard of living for everyone on the planet.
It's amazing to think about how a shift in philosophy could lead to such a dramatic improvement in people's lives.
It really is. And it makes you wonder,
What's that?
are there any downsides to this seemingly utopian society?
That's a really good question. I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah, and it's one that Dr. Sharma didn't shy away from.
So what did she say? What are the challenges?
Well, she acknowledges that there are some challenges to living in a world where everything is so interconnected.
Makes sense.
One potential issue is the loss of individuality.
Oh, so it's like everyone's so focused on the collective that they lose sight of themselves as individuals. Right. It's a risk, but one that they're aware of and actively working to mitigate.
How did they do that?
Well, they've developed educational systems and social structures that encourage both individual expression and a sense of belonging to something larger.
So it's about finding that balance
That seems to be the key.
between individual freedom and collective responsibility.
Exactly. It's an ongoing process of negotiation and adaptation.
Makes sense.
It's inspiring to think about a society that's actively striving to create a world that works for everyone.
It is. It really is.
It makes you wonder, is this kind of future really possible? Or is it just a pipe dream?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is, but even if we never fully achieve this kind of utopia,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot we can learn from Dr. Sharma's vision.
Yeah, I agree.
Like what are some of the key takeaways from this entire deep dive?
Well, for me, it shows the power of ideas.
Okay.
Just changing the way we think about the world can have a huge impact.
Right.
And it reminds us that we're not alone.
We're all interconnected.
Exactly. Even across time and space.
It really is a powerful message.
It is.
And, maybe by embracing this idea of monism, by recognizing our interconnectedness with all things, we can start to create a world that's a little bit closer to the one that Dr. Sharma describes.
A world that's more just, more sustainable, and more fulfilling for everyone.
That's a world worth striving for.
Absolutely.
This deep dive into the world of 2125 has given us a lot to think about.
We really have.
This journey through advancements in AI, a deeper understanding of consciousness, and a glimpse into a society that has embraced the interconnectedness of all things.
It's been fascinating.
It has.
And thought-provoking.
And I think the most important takeaway is that even small shifts in perspective can have ripple effects
that extend far beyond ourselves.
So as we go about our lives, let's remember that interconnectedness.
With all things.
Exactly. And who knows? Maybe together we can create a future that's even more amazing than anything we've imagined. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Into the world of Monism in 2125.